That was easy. I didn't do any intro. I just dropped us right in. So hey, that's what we get for going off script and pushing buttons when we don't know what's going on. Hello, welcome. It is another episode of Spring Office Hours. My name is DaShaun, and with me, as always, my good friend, brilliant Dan Vega, the real Dan Vega.
Oh, the real. How's it going? How are you doing?
I miss you.
I know. I was sick last week and I was down and out. I always somehow escaped the sickness. The entire family got sick. I was like, "Oh, I'm immune to all this sickness. I never get sick." And then sure enough, I got sick at the end of last week. So I'm still not great, but I am fighting through it. The show must go on. So I'm getting through it. Simon's here. Simon was in my live stream this morning and the Golden Path to Spring one. So he is on top of it today.
He was on my live stream yesterday or the day before as well. Good stuff. I brought him on. I brought him into the show. Hey, everybody that's saying hello, let us know where you're from. It's always fun to see where everybody's joining us from. First time, welcome. So what's happening? What have you been working on? You were sick, not feeling the best. The family's recovering. What are you doing when you're not feeling the best and everybody else is recovered? Everybody else is going outside playing. What are you doing?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, nobody's like, well, I guess our oldest daughter is doing a little bit better. So she's back in school, but everybody else is still sick. So I'm part-time taking care of people, part-time trying to take care of myself. And then in the middle of that, I decided last week that I wanted to start streaming more on my channel. And this would just be a chance for me to write code. And I thought like a really good use case for this was, hey, I put these demos together for these YouTube videos or for this show or whatever. I'm trying to work on a presentation next week for Spring Boot 3. I put these these demos together, and instead of doing this by myself, why don't I do it with some friends? So what I've been doing is just jumping online, and right now I'm working through Spring Shell. So I've done 3 live streams on Spring Shell. We built a little dad joke generator this morning. So right from your shell, you could just say DJ and it'll generate like a random dad joke. We haven't finished that yet, but we're going to finish that up tomorrow, I think. So having fun with that.
You're generating dad jokes?
Well, we're calling an API to get a random dad joke. But I'm not asking ChatGPT for a dad joke. I don't think it'd be that great. So, but yeah, so just live streaming, and then I use a different live streaming software than we use for this show, because we use like the corporate stuff for all of our shows here. Then I use a different software because I like it because it like gives me some like more customizations, and I can like play like music through it and do some fun things. So I'm just getting used to that. This is really just me having fun, trying to get used to that software and, just get back to streaming. Because, as we talked about, when we plan shows like this, there's some planning that goes into it. We don't just jump on the air. We try to put a plan together for these types of shows. And for that, I just jump on and code and show how vulnerable we are when it comes to writing code online. I'm like, this morning I was like, Simon actually made a suggestion, like, why not just use the HTTP client here? And I'm like, oh, it's a great idea. Let's try that. And I'm like, holy crap, I haven't used that in forever. Let me look up how to use that again.
Yep.
So yeah, just having fun with live streaming. How about you? What have you been working on?
So I've been noodling on this Barbecue Wednesday example, reference implementation, building an app. I'm doing it with my kids,
Nice.
just building something. So instead of doing that as a live stream, I'm actually taking time. I'm going to edit. I'm going to put together a little series of videos. I've also been live streaming a little bit around the cloud native build packs and trying to get the work that I've been working on for the past couple of years, trying to get that upstreamed. So an open source contribution that's pretty significant, trying to get it upstreamed into Paketo. So that's been a big part of my focus. There was actually a question before the stream started, there was a question about upgrading to Spring Boot 3. This has been a real kind of high priority topic for me. And the question that was before the stream is actually around using TAS, Cloud Foundry. So I've actually been doing some work on Cloud Foundry, upgrading Cloud Foundry, improving workloads that are already running on Cloud Foundry or TAS or others, and getting the most out of what you have for infrastructure.
Awesome.
Do you enjoy gaming? SCU James asked, do you enjoy gaming?
No, I don't. I used to play video games when I was younger, but these days it's funny enough, my youngest daughter loves Mario, so we look on YouTube and we found somebody playing like the newest Mario video game, and so she watches this on YouTube, somebody else playing Mario, and I'm just like, well, this game looks fun, but it also looks like a huge time suck, and I just don't have time for it. So, but yeah, I enjoy them. Have no time for them.
I purchased just yesterday a gaming PC.
Nice.
So I have kids. I have 4 kids, and we have various devices around the house, but we didn't have anything that could handle the Valve Index. So I went out and bought something that could handle the Valve Index.
What is the Valve Index?
It's one of the VR. So it's like a Oculus Quest.
Gotcha.
It's made by Steam.
Okay, cool.
And Lee was the person who recommended it to me, put it on my radar.
Nice.
And what happened was my father-in-law bought Oculus for my son, and I had already purchased this Valve Index.
Oh,
so
nice.
I wasn't able to give my son the Valve Index for Christmas. So it's been in a box. It's unboxed to this day, unboxed. But I have now a gaming machine that I can hook it up with. So we've done a lot of changes around the house, and we're going to have a spot.
I really should pick up one of those VR headsets for the house, because we were at a party one day and the little kids put on, I think it was an Oculus, and they were like in this like dinosaur world, and they were just like jumping around like going crazy, like this is like the coolest thing ever. So
one of my like when I went into college, that's what I wanted to do was VR.
Yeah,
I worked on a couple of projects that went to SIGGRAPH, VR based projects, a virtual pipeline, a virtual campus at Iowa State. And one of the things that I did a lot when I moved to Kansas City after graduating was every job that I worked at, I created a like Doom or a Quake map of my office building. That was like a big fun thing for me. So I had all these Quake maps and Doom maps of different office buildings around Kansas City. And that's how I had fun. So now I was thinking about, that'd be fun to go revisit some of those, except having it the plus version of being fully VR immersive.
Awesome.
So, hey, Sandro, I got your question. I have your Stack Overflow. I haven't been able to take a look at it yet, but I did get it, and I am going to take a look at it. Let's jump right to this. A lot of our customers, a lot of our community is upgrading. We see that Spring Boot 3 is out there, and we want to figure out, how do I get my Spring Boot 2 workloads up to Spring Boot 3? And a lot of customers, the thing that seems to be the stickiest point is Spring security. Why do you think that is, Dan? I think I have an idea of why that is, but why do you think that is?
I don't know. I have not had those conversations, so I'm not privy to what's going on there. Spring security is, there's a lot going on there, though. It's a huge project. It covers a lot of different things. There are a lot of different ways that you can use security in your applications, and there are a lot of different components that you can kind of interact with. So that on top of, hey, we deprecated and removed a few things in Spring Security 6.
That right there.
So that could definitely
that's what I think
impact
is
that.
That's what I think is the biggest problem. So I've only helped a couple of customers, a couple of people in the community. I've only helped a few get over it. And my solution, which is not the best solution, my solution was, hey, let's take a look at that base template that the team put out. Do you know which one I'm referring to? Where it's like, hey, here's Spring Security configured. I'm going to try to find that. But I basically said, hey, let's look at this base template and let's see what we need and what we don't need based on what you have implemented with Spring Boot 2. Let's do a comparison, because a lot of times what I think is trying to happen is they're trying to find the matching. They're trying to copy and paste what they had in Spring Boot 2 and use it the same way in Spring Boot 3. And
yeah, that won't work.
Right? So with that said, what is the pattern? We have to figure out, like, hey, these things aren't needed. And there's a lot under that umbrella of Spring security. So coming up with a recipe, coming up with a programmatic way of saying, here's what you have typically in Spring Boot 2, and here's what you need in Spring Boot 3. How do we do that transformation automatically?
Yep.
Repeatedly across a multitude of applications. That's the key. So that's what I'm working on. And I'm working with customers. And Sandro, thank you for sharing. I need the more information I have, the more people, the more projects that I can find that are stuck with that migration, the better chance I have of delivering a recipe, an open react recipe that can help more people do this automatically. Because wouldn't it be nice? I think this is the goal for everybody, is that, hey, here's my Spring Boot 2 application. It has some Spring security functionality in it. I would like to migrate to Spring Boot 3. Where's the recipe? Like, I just want an automatic button that says, hey, I'm covered and my test passed and everything's good and I can go on. That's the goal.
Cool. So what do we have in store for today? What are we talking about today?
Well, let's jump. I'm going to throw your screen up there. Let's go into the calendar since you already have your screen there.
All right. I'll talk about one thing before I get into the calendar. Okay. The Golden Path to Spring 1, which I was just a host of. If you were here an hour ago, or 2 hours ago now, I had the great Matt Rabel on. We talked about microservices in Spring Boot with Jay Hipster, reactive microservices to be specific. That was a lot of fun. So this is a show that airs every Tuesday, Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern as we march towards Spring 1 at VMware Explore in August of 2023. Which happens to start on August 21st, which is my birthday. So you better show up for my birthday party.
We're doing the birthday party in where? Where's it at?
Vegas.
And
Vegas,
you can't
baby.
spell Vegas without Vega.
That's a really good point. Really good point. This show is awesome. I'm just like scrolling through here every time, looking at these speakers that we have, and I'm really excited. I can't wait till Thursday. Marco Codes is one of my favorites. So I can't wait to watch that. Go ahead and check out the lineup of speakers we have. Really great stuff. So on to the calendar. Today is way down here. Today is the last day of February. We are almost at March. This is happy times.
February
one of my favorite days of the year is when we spring forward. Oh, we're almost there.
When is that? When do we spring forward?
That is 2 weeks from previous Sunday. So less than 2 weeks. It's March 12th.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to that. Other than that, not much happening today in the world of releases. But yesterday, Spring Shell 3.1.0 milestone 1 was released. So hey, Spring Shell's been on my mind. We've done some things on that. Later this week, Spring Framework 6.0.6, I believe, and I don't want to go too much into this because I don't know what I want to talk about here, but there was some like things that came up in the latest version of Spring Boot. So I think that this release was not planned for tomorrow or for Thursday. I think this is a patch to fix a couple things. One of which was I saw a couple people online referencing this. They had some configuration classes and they weren't getting picked up, and it had to do with like a space in the name of like if there was a space in like the folder name or the project name. I just like started reading about this. I don't have a lot of information on it yet. I will share more when I find out more, but I believe that's what this is. If it's not, I will go ahead and point that out when I find out more. But take a look at Spring Framework 6.0.6 later this week. So that's my calendar. Golden Path to Spring 1. I did have just two quick things I wanted to share. I saw this tweet and I thought it was real important we share it. It says, kudos to Spring Central and GraalVM team switching to a native image was as simple as adding one Gradle plugin and one line change in my GitHub workflow to use GraalVM. Starts 50 times faster and uses 1/5 of the memory. Game changer. I mean, does that not just warm your heart, DaShaun?
It does all the way through. I actually printed that one off.
Nice.
Printed it off because it was good. It was solid.
So good to see. And then I just found out about this link. We've been talking about Project Loom and web applications. There was a blog post on spring.io/blog, web applications and Project Loom. Just a good exploration of what might be coming as we move some web applications to Project Loom. So really great blog post. When I get a chance to kind of dive through it more, maybe we'll take a look at it next week. So that's all I had. I have this migration guide, which we can go through, or we can kind of jump into some open rewrite stuff.
Right on. So let's talk about this Spring Boot migration guide.
Okay.
I do have a little demo. I want to jump into a couple of these questions real quick.
Yep.
Roselle, thank you so much for joining. Sandro, I see that we've got some help for you coming. A question from Alexander. Probably this has been asked on the show, but probably missed it. What are your thoughts on different ways of Dockerizing Spring apps? Jib versus build packs versus Docker multi-stage. Alexander, I'm here to tell you that friends don't let friends mess with Docker files. Like, unless you're doing like the core Docker file for a build pack, you're doing the build or the run, like that's cool. I get that. But friends don't let friends mess with Docker files. So I highly recommend for Spring apps. I can say hands down, absolutely. I highly recommend. I don't really recommend any other option other than build packs. That's it. That's the way to go.
I asked the great Daniel Makusa this same question last week when I saw him. And I said, what would be your advice to writing build packs? And he said, listen, if you're an application developer, there's really no reason for you to be writing build Docker files, right? Like, use build packs. If you're on the DevOps side of things and you're working towards kind of making more efficient processes in your organization, fine. Like, that's your job to write Docker files. But as application developers, it's not our job to write Docker files. use the build packs.
And build packs are extendable and composable. Like, you can create build packs of build packs, builders that have multiple build packs in them. So you can really simplify your workflow. Let's say that your organization does Java, Spring apps, and .NET apps, and Python apps, and COBOL. You can take a builder and you can put all of those things in order for maybe the ones that are deployed the most often. And you can have one build pack that is maintained and managed by your DevOps team, and it's supported by your organization all the way through to production. So that if something changes for any one of those processes, any one of those languages, it's included in the build pack in one spot. Instead of the alternative, I lived it. So I'm gonna bring this up. Having a Docker file for every project, where every project right next to its pom.xml has a Docker file, right next to its build.gradle has a Docker file. And when it's time to, hey, let's upgrade our memory configs for 20 of these applications, you go in and you update 20 different Docker files, and you have to rebuild those Docker files for all those applications. And then you have to have some testing and management of those Docker files. Let's say there's a CVE in the base image of those. Like, these are all headaches that I don't want.
Yep.
I like getting rid of headaches. That's what I've been doing on my stream. I'm getting rid of headaches. So
I liken this to, do you remember when you first learned like HTML and you were like, all right, I'm going to create this website, and you wrote like your whole one page, your index.html. And then you're like, okay, I'm just going to copy and paste this and write my about page. And then I'm going to copy and paste this and write my contact page. And then you realize that you had to update like something in the header, and you went and you had to update all the 4 or 5 files. And then you're just like, oh, wait, I can actually split these out into separate templates. And when I need to change the header, all I got to do is change the header. I don't need to change 5 different things. So
we're aging ourselves. Or age
Oh
myself.
yeah. I will age myself. I did that in like Dreamweaver or Front Page back in the day. So
So good. Simon says, "Hey, did you say Doom maps?" Yes, I did. I'm proud of it. Doom maps. I make Doom maps and Quake maps. That was I was bored and I thought it was fun. Let's see. Not sure that would go over well nowadays. Maybe, I don't know. Let's see. Emphasis a lot on going into spring security, trying to figure session off. Yes. Stay tuned. We're going to be doing a lot more on spring security. It is definitely the hot topic for my ears, from what I'm hearing from the community.
yeah, I'm getting a lot of questions around. Hey, I saw you did this JWT thing, but how do I use session cookies instead of like a JWT token?
Yeah. And Jitter Ted says, does the open rewrite migrator tool handle spring security changes? Some, not all. There's so many different edge cases. That's where I'm focused. I am trying to, the process of building an open rewrite recipe is pretty simple, right? It's logical. I can do it in Java. It makes sense to me. So there's not a lot of figuring things out, but the Spring ecosystem is massive. So finding all the edge cases is important. And that's where I'm going to start. That's where our community, our little Spring Office Hours community, that's where I'm getting the most feedback and the most concern. That's where people are getting stuck the most. The nice thing is Open Rewrite and the Spring Boot Migrator, they are helping all those other workloads. All the other workloads that don't have a Spring Security specific edge case in them, they are helping them go forward. So right now it feels like I'd say the 70-30, it's like 70% of workloads, the upgrade path is super duper simple. The other 30, maybe there's a gotcha here and there. Now, but for the Spring Security one specifically, that reference implementation, that template that the Spring team pushed out, I need to add that link. That has been a blessing, that they show an example of the different ways that Spring Security can be implemented. And they're not covering all the edge cases, but they cover a great, probably 80% of the use cases. So that's where I'm going. Oh, look at this. Simon already looked at Sandro's post, looked at his post on Stack Overflow and asked for more info. This is another great thing about this community. It's people helping people. Simon's jumped on to both of our streams and given us amazing feedback. That's the nice thing about having a live stream. It's a two-way street. Sometimes the Spring team jumps on and they're answering questions in the chat before we even see them. So yeah, we're so happy. We're so lucky to have you guys here. Andu says Windows class path folder name with space caused that issue. I'm not sure which issue that was.
Yeah, it was the one I was talking about before.
Okay. Article's great. Hello. Love seeing all the familiar faces. And yes, straight and clear. So Dan, I had a nice chat with Dan, who's just across the state. Still working on config map and secrets for microservices using Spring Cloud Config Server. His process, which is probably common, the idea that I want to have my interloop development. Maybe I don't want Kubernetes running locally. I shouldn't need Kubernetes running locally, especially if I'm very comfortable running Docker. The idea that I can build my image, run it locally with maybe a local version of Docker Compose, but I want that same artifact to go from being friendly with my Docker Compose setup to being friendly with the Kubernetes config map setup that's running in production, and understanding where should I use Spring Cloud Config Server? Can I deploy a config server to Kubernetes? Yes. Should I? That's still a question, because what we can do is we can map all the things that are available in Spring Cloud Config Server. We can take that output, if you will, we can take that and map it directly to a config map. So for each one of our applications, we can generate a config map where they can go and get the exact same configurations that they would from a Docker Compose deployed Spring Cloud Config Server. So the idea is, let's come up with an example where we can take that same artifact that has a Spring Cloud Config client and let's run it in Docker. Let's get our properties in Docker from a Spring Cloud Config Server, and then let's run on Kubernetes. where that Kubernetes config map is getting its configs from Spring Cloud Config Server. And we had an interesting question like, what about in Taz? What about with Spring Boot 3? And I want to do the same thing in Taz. We should have, that shouldn't be too difficult to do. So that is on my to-do list of demonstrating, just capturing configs, following that 15-factor or 12-factor, if you will, process of the configs should be separate. The artifact that moves from local to dev to integration to production, the only changes it should need is its environment variables. So let's show some examples of that.
Like it.
Yeah, look at that. This is something that's come up. Hey, maybe it'd be a good idea to create a Spring Office Hours Slack/Discord community. I've thought about that many hours, as I'm, dozing off at night. And the thing that I keep on coming back to is that we have Stack Overflow. We have Twitter. We have these spaces. And one thing that we're struggling with already is we have all of these different channels. We heard it earlier in the chat. Hey, which channel should I go to watch? We have the same problem with where should I go to answer and ask questions? Because we don't, as much as I like having this Spring Office Hours community and having this two-way street, jumping on Zooms with you guys, it's been wonderful. But it would be nice if the answers and the stuff that we were delivering was shared with the larger community, not just the Spring Office Hours community. So it's a fine line, right? I want to treat the people that come and join the stream like VIPs because you are. But we have the millions of other Spring developers that we want to help out as well. So we have to figure out some channel, some way of getting the information and the tips and tidbits that we learn here, getting them out into the community.
Yeah, and for me, Slack is work, and that is work noise. Discord is a terrible product, and I don't mind saying that on a live stream. I just don't enjoy using it. So that's where I am.
I get it. What is your YouTube? Yeah, I'm at DaShaun on YouTube.
It's pretty easy. He's at DaShaun everywhere.
Yep.
He gobbled that up pretty quick.
Yes. Let's see. I hope you still have time to review my Spring Boot sub. Yes, Super Base. I do have the Super Base. The only reason I haven't picked up with it is because it's on my laptop. I was traveling, and I haven't really settled in since I got back. So yes,
he was on vacation.
Wait a minute. No, I was on vacation. Then I was working, traveling. So, which was a great event. And did we talk about this last week? The VMware Technology Forum in Israel?
We did, yeah, because we had on that was last week, right?
It was last week.
Up all right, yeah.
It was last week. It was great.
Right.
It was a great event, and yeah. I hope they invite me back. Sandro, yes, it seems like filters created because I can't access a secured page. I only tried to check the same setup on Spring 2, and it worked. The problem is with redirection. Oh man, I'm excited to go and dig into this one. Yes, there is no central place for Spring developers on Stack Overflow. Your question gets deleted really fast. On Twitter, you don't often get feedback. Interesting. So on Twitter, if you aren't aware, there is actually a Spring developer community, and there's also one on LinkedIn. And I'm going to just pause for just a second. I'm going to hit the mute button because my door is open. Please hold.
All right, and there's one on Facebook that I actually run. So if you're interested, you can go over there. So again, yeah, there, like every large community, there are just different places. There's no one true aggregate of all the information, and that's probably a good thing, as DaShaun said earlier, being able to ask these questions on whatever platform you're on, because not everybody's on Facebook or Twitter. So we want to make sure that we're representing that crowd wherever they are.
Yes, indeed. Also, Discord's discoverability is an issue, and the server limit. So yeah, there's a lot of things that we need to figure out, because I can say this without a doubt. And I like to use 2015 as my point in time reference. Back in 2015, it was still Spring Boot 1.x. Every time a question got answered, every time an issue got responded to in GitHub, and of course there's GitHub issues that are always a great place to go to as well. every time that I got an answer from somebody on the spring team, I felt like they were a part of my extended team. I felt like Mario and Mark and Josh, I felt like they were a part of my extended team. And that's what I'm trying to do here. That's what we're trying to do here. We want you to have a channel to ask your questions. No matter big or small. We want you to have a channel to ask your questions. We want to build a relationship with you. And sometimes they're not the best. This isn't the best forum for those questions. But we want you to know that you do have a channel to me, to Dan, and through us, through the rest of the spring team. We have the bat signal. We have Slack. We can reach out to the people that probably have the right answers.
I like this. One would think DaShaun is a heavy gamer because of his chair. Haha. Love it.
Thanks. I like my chair. But not a heavy gamer. The game that I play is, how do I get the spring community unlocked? That's the game. That's the game that I play outside of work hours. That's the thing that keeps me up. That's the thing that I get excited about. I get excited about having conversations in one-on-one Zoom conversations with Alexander or with Dan. I enjoy that. Or Simon, having Simon on my stream. Like, these are the things that get me excited, and that's the game that I play. So it's fun. We are in a great position. So, Spring Boot Migrator. This process. Let's talk about that. I have a little demo here, but let's talk about the things we've learned. Or you want to go ahead?
I was just going to say, do we want to talk through this document real quick?
Yeah.
I know that we've referenced this many of times, but I don't think we've ever looked at it together. And so right at the top, we see, so first, before you start, hey, upgrade to the latest 2.7.x version. That'll get you up to date. So don't try to jump from 2.4 to 3. Update to 2.7.x. That'll give you a good start. Right at the top here, Spring Security. So Spring Boot 3 uses Spring Security 6. In Spring Security 5.8, some changes were made. In 6, these changes were now removed. Like, anything that was marked for deprecation was removed in Spring Security 6. And those were a lot of the things that that DaShaun was referencing earlier that are probably tripping a lot of people up. So what is this? Is this the, hey, what's new? Yes. So, oh no, this isn't the one I was thinking of. There's like a what's new, and it shows like all of the deprecations or rules, but whatever.
It was on the left-hand side, I think.
All right. So that's something you need to go through. If you don't have Spring Security, that's one last thing you need to worry about as far as your migration path goes. So requirements, we've talked about that, over and over again. Then you need to get into some configuration properties migration. So some things may have changed when it comes to configuration properties. Something might have been renamed or removed, and we need to update those, whether it's in our application.properties, in a YAML. Maybe we have a central like Spring Cloud config server that stores all of this stuff. You can easily do this by adding a migrator to Maven. Now, is there something in Open Rewrite that does this, or am I doing this still?
So this is a tricky question here. So there is this option of adding this property and having it done that way. I've actually been leaning towards the Open Rewrite recipes. There's a recipe that kind of handles that. I believe that this is just around that recipe.
Right. Well, yeah, this is if you're doing it manually, right? Yep. This is kind of the manual process. If you want to go through and do these and like create a checklist of things to do. But yeah, if we're using Open Rewrite, I would not want to do this manually. This is something I would want to kind of automate, if you will. Because, for me, maybe I'm just upgrading one particular project. For most of you in larger organizations, this is something that you're going to have to repeat. So getting this done in like an Open Rewrite fashion where you can do it on one project, see how it works, and then repeat that process on every other project. That's really where you want to be at. And then it goes into Spring Framework 6. We've talked about Jakarta, so the big move to Jakarta EE 9 and 10. So there's going to have to be some changes there. There are a number of tools that can help with this, including open rewrite recipes. So that's really cool to see. I know you're going to talk about this, DaShaun, but open rewrite, Spring Boot migrator, which one should I use? Like, what am I looking for?
You know what? Let's see. Do you have a link to the Spring Boot migrator? It's an experimental project.
There we go.
I don't have. I'm on a different computer, so I'm not like super.
I have it here.
Awesome. So let's take a look at the Spring Boot migrator. Can you go up to the issues? Like this thing is getting used. It's a very manual way forward, but it's getting used. There's tons of issues open. There's tons of pull requests open. This is an active project, but it's a little bit behind. So it needs a little bit of help. I'm asking, maybe you can help. So some of the things that you might see, the differences, what you might get from start.sprint.io versus what you're going to see as an output from here are going to be a little bit different. When I was doing this demo a couple of weeks ago, it wasn't recognizing that my 2.7.9 version was 2.7.9. It was recognizing it as 2.7.3. Easy fix. I think that actually got fixed already in the Spring Boot migrator. So it's very active. And it is.
I like this too. Good first issue. So if you want to join, if you want to contribute to an open source project, these are always really great to get started with. And there's a bunch of them.
The tool is super slick. It demos really, really well. And if you're doing one or two projects, it's a great way to introduce somebody to open rewrite. It's a great way of introducing and moving a bunch of projects forward in a manual process.
Cool. And then also, if you're using like IntelliJ IDEA, there's ways to move from Java EE to Jakarta EE right in your IDE. So if you're going the manual route, that's one way that you can do it. Oh, I know Josh was very bummed about this. The image banner support removed. Oh, sorry, Josh.
We knew it was coming.
Yeah, and then I'm not going to go through every one of these. So check through these. Web application changes. This was a big one. So if you haven't seen this yet, the Spring MVC and Webflux URL matching. So as of Spring Framework 6, that trailing / matching configuration option has been deprecated, which means that previously we would match both some greeting and some greeting /. And so if either of those were there, we would know and we would hit this particular method. We're not doing that anymore. So if it's some greeting /, that's not going to get matched anymore. And that's that trailing /. And there are some reasons behind this. I don't know if this... Yeah, so here it is. So if you want to read more of the motivation behind this change, you can go ahead and check out this, the GitHub issue. There's a great explanation of why this actually came up. So you just want to make sure that is something you're testing for. Nothing. I mean, again, these are things that you're going to want to go through to see if you're using, and obviously adjust as you're migrating. I'm just trying to think of anything else that's like really big on my list here. Again, really depending on what you're using. So we have things specific to Flyway, Hibernate, R2DBC, Elasticsearch. Goes more into the Spring security changes. Here's the migration guide. I think that's all I wanted to cover.
Greening ear to ear. I'm going to jump through. Eric is in Brazil. Eric, there are definitely other Spring experts in Brazil. Jump on Twitter. Stay tuned. I'll see if I can post some of those friends here in the chat. John says, "Hey, last time DaShaun was in Israel, you had a special guest. Bring more people like that on the channel. DaShaun's no good. Get DaShaun out of here and bring others into the show." I get it. I agree. Let's get some other people in here to the show. I know we had a request for Ryan Baxter, who is leading up the Spring Cloud Kubernetes project, and we're going to get him on as soon as we can get his calendar, get him some free time that fits with our office hour schedule.
Oh, that and we won't. I won't throw this date out there, but I believe we have one. So
Said downside of that is never getting around to actually fixing those properties. I get it. Yeah, lean into the automation. So as I'm doing this, I can see that I need to look into open rewrite. Have them on a repo at work. Yes. And I want to know how that goes. And if you get stuck with anything, you know how to get a hold of me. I'm at DaShaun. Please, like, take this for a spin. Let's get you upgraded to Spring Boot 3. Let's do that. Look at this. I opened an issue which was quickly resolved, but is pending the next SBM release. Still, that's pretty awesome. And if you were paying attention to the calendar.spring.io, things are coming out so fast. So just stay tuned. I'm sure that that's going to be there. And I'm going to say this, do as I say, not as I do. I have been one of those people that has said, hey, that PR is there. I know it's going to be in the next release. Let me copy that patch. Let me take a patched version and let me run it for now, since I'm not going to release it for later. I'll put it on a branch and I'll use that patched version on a branch in my code for development and integration. I'll test it out before that's coming. That's an okay thing to do. It's okay to look ahead and prepare for changes that are coming from the upstream. I like that. Like Simon's already answering. Simon is answering Sandro's question. He's already looked at the repository. He says, look, you're doing a redirect to a get URL, but you only support post on that URL. So, Sandro, I hope that you take a look at Simon's response here, and we'll see. If you perform logging, you'll see that you're getting resolved. Request method get is not supported. Look at that. Simon's been learning. I think this is just obvious. Simon has been joining the Spring Office Hours regularly. He has been learning. He's been soaking it in, and now he's giving it back.
He's doing professional bug hunting.
He's
get some money out of that.
We are on Spring Boot 2.5, so a long way to go. No, it's not a long way. You're going to see open rewrite. These open rewrite recipes, there's recipes that can actually get you from 1.x versions of Spring Boot all the way up to 3.x for most of your use cases, most workloads. If you open default page / click the post button, you will have a login page. When you enter credentials, you must be redirected to the home page, but it doesn't do it. And I think what I'm reading is that the home page is a post and not a get. So it has different behavior in 2, correct for me, and different in 3, wrong for me. Okay. It's really not that bad. Yeah, the upgrade process isn't that bad. Just do yourself a favor. Yeah, go from 2.5 to 2.7. Massive improvements. So one of the questions that I ask customers, one of the questions that I ask orgs is that, where are you today? If you've already upgraded from 2.5 to 2.7 or 2.1 to 2.7, if you've already done that, have you upgraded to Spring Boot or to Java 17? The Java 17 performance boost is massive. So there are customers that are trying to get from Java 8 up to Java 17. That leap is not that big. And there are recipes to help you make the necessary changes between Java 8 and Java 17. So you need to take a look at that. There's a lot of automation. The rules they're not changing. They're not dynamic, right? There's a set number of things like, hey, these are the things that broke between these versions. These are the things you need to change. These are the things that were deprecated. That list is finite. And that list for the Java upgrade, that list has been captured time and time again in a plethora of ways, whether it's in your IDE or an open rewrite recipe. So that should not be preventing anybody from getting to Java 17. Get to Java 17, get all the performance boost out of that, make sure you're measuring it, and then get up to Spring Boot 3. That is the key. Make sure that you can get your workloads, get as many of your workloads up to Java 17 first before you start migrating towards Spring Boot 3. I don't think that Simon was saying skip 2.6. I think he was saying, hey, it's pretty painless. And Simon, 2 and 3, I mean versions of Spring. Got it. And use 3.0 instead of why. I wonder why this is. I just the latest.
It's just the space in the folder name thing. But you can use 3.0.3 as long as you don't have a space on Windows in a project name, which Hopefully, as most of us.
This is coming. I feel like Simon is taking care of Sandro's issue. Simon is on the case. This is great. So we just got from Java 8 to Java 11 last month. Now I need to convince my boss to focus on Java. The 11 to 17 jump is not that bad. Much easier than the 8 to 11. Would you agree?
I would say yes. Get to Java 17 as fast as you can.
I have a question.
Because I will say this, like, it was nice that you made the jump to 11, but we are moving very fast. Java 20 is coming out next month. Java 21 at the end of the year is the next LTS version. The longer you take to get up to like 17, which I think is like, it's the current LTS, right? The longer you take to get there, you're just going to be more and more behind. And it's just like the farther you fall in the quicksand, the harder it is to get out of there. So, and I know it's not an easy task in large organizations. I realize that.
Yep. Christopher, this is the same. I can't think of anybody saying, hey, I ran into this really sticky issue upgrading from Java 11 to 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
I like, did you put jitter TEDs up there? Just don't put spaces in files and directories.
So let's jump into a quick demo. This is one that I've already delivered. So let's see what it looks like. I'm going to go through an example here of just building a Spring Boot 2.7 application and upgrading it to Spring Boot 3. Sounds simple, right? So just make sure that you've got Java version 17. Then what I'm doing is I'm using curl just because this is a command line demo. I'm calling out to start.spring.io and I'm grabbing a project. And then after that, I'm initting that project and just saying, hey, this is what I got from Initializer. So nothing fancy. These are the things got put into my repository. Next thing, I'm just doing a clean package. Let's clean this up and let's start this application. I put the -q so you're not seeing a whole bunch of the process. Oh, I should make this like pretty. Let's see if I can make it pretty. What happened?
Oh, socket.
Do I have something else running? Oh yeah, I had something else running. Oh, so let me cancel that. Let me see what I got. JPS. Let's kill all this other stuff. Who knows what it is? But let's kill it. Oh, I know what it is. It's a Docker thing. Sorry. I mean, it's a demo. Of course, it's going to work. And then Docker's not running. Like what? Wait, which box am I even on?
Just while you're looking at this, recent comment on Spring Boot says the character encoding was not specific to Windows. All right. Also, LTS is just about support, not stability. There's no good reason to limit upgrades to LTS. True, but in big orgs, support is kind of important sometimes. So, but I agree.
There we go.
Cool. What? Oh, no.
Oh, no. Ha. That was nothing. It was working just fine. We skipped the important parts. So I did my clean package. I started it. I skipped the test, of course, because we're professionals here. It started up in 1.684 seconds. And then I ran a test. I immediately hit that actuator endpoint to validate it. That test passed. Hey, it's up. And then I said, hey, let's take a look at the memory. Let's see how much memory this version, this 2.7.9 version, let's see how much memory that's using. It was 177 megs. Cool. And then I said, let's kill it. So this is just a side effect of killing that process that I started in the background. So let's keep on going. Now I'm going to run these open rewrite rules. The first one here is, hey, let's just run this rewrite Spring, grab the latest and upgrade Spring Boot 3.0. This is a recipe that's available. You can run this command. I didn't change a POM file. I'm just running the plugin from the command line. So I haven't changed anything. Now it's running this remove duplicate dependencies, because for some project that I had, it was creating duplicate dependencies, and this is going to remove them. So in my pom.xml, I won't have duplicate dependencies. So those have ran. I'm going to keep on going. One more time. So now I've upgraded, I've removed my dependencies. Now let's do that clean package Spring Boot start again. This time starts 1.795 seconds. I run my test right here. I'm running my test and things are still good. It's up. Grep memory still 177-ish megs. Then I kill it, stop it, and now we're good. Now, because now we're at Spring Boot 3, let's take a look. We're at 303, the latest and greatest. Now let's keep on going. What does this look like? One more time. Let's do the native compilation. This is going to take a little bit. This is running on an x86 machine, and it's going to do all the Graalvm stuff. So this is where we can pause and talk. The ease of upgrading from a 2.7 to a 3.0 with just a couple of commands. That was it. That process of upgrading is going to cover a lot of your use cases. There's going to be a lot of workloads that can be upgraded that easy. Maybe there's more than one recipe. Maybe there's a flybase or a flyway recipe that needs to get added. Maybe there's some other Oracle recipe that needs to get added. But the process of using Open Rewrite to automatically handle those updates is super powerful.
So my first question would be, where did you find that recipe? And can you look at that recipe to say, here's what's included, here's what we're going to do in this recipe?
Yes. So I found that recipe on Open Rewrite. I'm not going to switch over because I'm afraid that my screen is going to go. This is still running.
All right.
But I found the recipe on Open Rewrite. I used the defaults. And what's happening, what orgs are doing is we want to kind of stack these things. We want to make it automatic. I don't want to have to go and manually check a project, especially if I have hundreds or even thousands of applications that are trying to do this migration process. We want to make it as easy as possible, and Open Rewrite is the key.
And I think that I asked you this when you were on stream, but I would want to go, if I was going to do this and I was making a bunch of changes, I would want to like see them incrementally, especially like in a Git repository.
Yep.
So that, okay, let me step through each, almost do like a code review with my team. Okay, let's look over these, see what it's doing, see what it's done, approve, just so we can all kind of sign off on that change, if you will.
Yeah. So these recipes, they don't have to be just the open source recipes that are being pulled down. The recipes are also easy to create. Nice. So for orgs that have their own custom wrappers, their own custom things that they're doing, let me go. I think it worked. I think it finished. I had to click it, and I don't know if I did click it in time. Let me jump here, and then I'll come right back. So what we did was we did the native compilation. We started it up. I didn't hit the allow button, so let me do that again. Target. So, example. /target demo. So here's my thing. It started in 0.097 seconds. I'm going to go hit this allow button up here so I can allow traffic. And then I'm going to, I needed to run that in the background. It started up that fast. I want to open up another tab. Hello. I don't know that box's IP address. Please hold. Let's see if I can do this. It's a demo. Like, what could possibly go wrong? Let's copy this IP. Let's go HTTP 80. This IP address 8080 actuator health. Cool. It's up. So I hit that service that was up and running. We can see that I hit it. And then let's on that box, I got an SSH to that box. My process ID is 84258. Let's do that same process, VM app, that process ID, pipe grep, physical. Oops. I need a VM at 8. 84258. 84258. 35 megs. So if we remember those values from before, it was 177 megs down to 35 megs. But I didn't open up my IDE. I didn't do any code changes. We generated something. There was an application that worked. We upgraded to Spring Boot 3. Then we made it a native application, and I didn't open up my IDE. I used Open Rewrite, and it's now done. But now the question is like, well, but what was done? So let's do this. Close this one. Stop our process, and let's see like what was actually done. Hello. I want to kill that process. Machine. Let's see if we can do it. Go. All right, there. Process is done. Let's look at git log. It only has my initializer change, git status. Oh, I see a modified pom.xml, so I didn't commit those things. Let's do a git diff on the pom.xml, and let's see exactly what was changed. So by running those two things, by running my open rewrite rules, here's what's changed. It knew how to change the version from 3.0.3 to 2.7.9. That's great. It also added this org glassfish jaxb runtime. That's part of the recipe. But that's the only changes that have happened. So those two rewrite rules, this is the delta. So I can choose to commit it or not. Does that make sense? I could do that same thing after each recipe. I could go and validate it and say, hey, what's the delta? What did it do? Probably a good idea to put this on a branch. Validate on a branch. But then once you've figured out the patterns for your organization, hey, most of our projects, again, just like we copy and paste from our index to our about and our other pages, a lot of organizations are going to do the same thing. Or maybe they have an initializer or something like that, that they've got these adopted, approved patterns for the way that they deliver things to production. And you're going to find a recipe that matches most of those workloads that are on their way to production. Maybe it's certificates. Maybe it's the way that things are handled with authentic. Maybe it's Spring Security. Maybe it's the wrapper around your database connection pooling. But there's going to be recipes for how that works. And if you can generate that recipe, it's not a manual process for every other person in your org to go and upgrade something. It can be automatic. And that's super powerful. So the other option is the Spring Boot Migrator. Let me see if I can do that. I'm going to stop sharing for just a sec while I try to pull up another screen. But did that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I love it. I like the idea too of, it really being a starting point for an organization. Like let's look through this recipe, see what applies to us. Maybe we can break it up into chunks and like add different recipes to this, and maybe we have our own that we need to work on. So yeah, exciting. I'm also excited about the migrator because you showed me a little bit of a UI the other day and it looked pretty cool.
Oh, look at this. Dan says my video is lagging too. Has anybody noticed? Because I'm seeing a little bit of lag with Dan. Dan Ido, I bet it's Ido, is seeing a little bit of lag with my video. Is anybody else noticing? Help us understand because we want to get this thing fixed.
Yeah, I don't see a lag in your video, so I'm not sure what's going on.
So
like, Dan, maybe Dan's video is freezing a bit. I was gonna say maybe the kids are watching lots of Netflix or Disney Plus. My kids are probably watching Disney Plus right now.
Yes. And oh man, look at Simon. My video's lagging, or it's just me. It could just be me too. That's why I was wondering about Dan Vega's video. It might just be me. Dan's video has been freezing a bit. So okay. So it's not just me. Dan just lagged a bit. So yeah, video has been fine. So yeah, we might have some things to look at.
Weird.
Yeah.
I'll tell you after the show, but I have an idea.
Well, awesome. So this is good. Open rewrite is top of mind. I'm working on it. I want to help you move forward, and I want to keep track. Like I want to make sure that we're helping go forward. As always, send an email with your address to stickers@springofficehours.io, and I'm sending another load. I'm sending another batch of stickers out tomorrow. So they should be coming real soon. And I'm replying. So if you sent me an email, you should have an email back saying, hey, here's when your stickers are coming. So I'm trying to keep everybody aware of where their stuff is in the pipeline, in that path to production, because production for these stickers is on your laptop.
If you're crazy like that.
Yes.
I stopped doing that a while ago when I loaded up one of my MacBooks with stickers. Then I had to turn it back into work, and wow, was it hard to get all those stickers
I didn't take the stickers off. I have not taken the stickers off. Here, I'll put that in here.
And now I don't put any stickers on my laptop. Even my personal laptop, which I know is not going anywhere. I mean, it might go back to Apple one day, but yeah.
So it's been fun. Another great episode.
Yeah. Really good. Yeah, we are going to get together. DaShaun and I will get together later this week and figure out next week's. I believe we have 2 weeks from now figured out. So by the end of this week, we should have the next 2 weeks posted, and we'll go from there.
And we might do a live episode.
Ooh, what it is this? Is this not live? Oh, yes. That is getting real close. I keep forgetting that we're about 5 weeks away. So, yeah, getting real close. That we need to figure out. We need to figure out how we're going to do a live episode and it's easy to just get a microphone and talk to each other. And, we can use, we've tested this, like using an iPhone with, I got one of these nice little stands that you can put on a laptop. It actually turns out really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, we could do it together like that in a room, but I would really like to do it somewhere where we can have some people in the audience and just hang out.
I can't think of a better place than Atlanta, Georgia at Nexus. And I've got equipment. I validated that I can stream remotely over my phone doing StreamYard. It was 720p, but it worked. I was in the middle of the hotel and I was doing.
Oh no, we're not doing no 720p. We'll fix that.
All right. Well, it works. We can do this, and I have goals. I have hopes that we can deliver something like this. This is my favorite hour of the week. It's the hour that I look forward to the most. Thanks everybody for joining us. Dan, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for putting up with me.
Thanks for putting up with my sickness. I probably sound like junk still, so I will be better by next week, hopefully. I mean, I'm just not going to test myself anymore. Hopefully I'll be better next week. I'm not making any concrete statements.
Don't forget, click the bell and subscribe and select all to get notified. This is great.
Love it.
Love it. Yes, we're doing good things.
Hit the thumbs up.
James, send your repository. We're going. I look at these things offline, or I might reach out and say, hey, let's connect on Zoom. But we're here to help. So yeah, we're not going to do anything live. We're not going to expose anything. We're just here to help. So these are what it's been so far. Like if it's something that you want us to show live, let us know. Maybe we can. But yeah, we'll like to handle things. Let's get us over the hump first.
Yeah, and also find us on YouTube. Like we said, DaShaun and I are both live streaming some code on our channels. Again, it's less preparing that we have to do. We just go live and kind of write some code. So check us out on our YouTube channels.
What is your day-to-day as far as developing?
Today was a fun one. I have been on, this is my third stream today. So I had a personal stream this morning for an hour and a half. I had a meeting with my boss. I had a prep for my next stream, which was the Golden Path to Spring One with Matt Rabel. I was a host on that one. And here we are on Spring Office Hours. So today was an interesting one. They're all a little bit different, but my day-to-day is fun. I don't know about yours.
Wonderful. I literally try to commit something every day. I have a handful of projects that I have kind of put in that top bucket, the Paketo upstreaming, the ARM64 multi-architecture build pack to Paketo, the Spring Security, RIA recipes, and then also TAS service bindings for native apps. You'll see some work coming out of that. And then Barbecue Wednesdays, just a reference implementation app that I'm building as a video, not as a live stream, that I'm just going to push out and I'll be able to reference. And it's got some of those patterns that I've learned over the years. But I try to focus on one thing for a little while and then, hey, I'm stuck or I need to think about it. Then I'll switch to another project. So I've got a handful of projects that I work on and I just kind of rotate through trying to move all of them forward. That's kind of what my day looks like.
DaShaun commits every day. This is what his shine looks like.
There's so much stuff to do. And it is such a good time to be a Spring developer. Like we're lucky.
Such a great time to be a Java developer too. Man, Java 20 is right around the corner. I'm excited. We're almost into March. So
I don't commit to being bug free. That is, I am trying to do test driven development. I'm also trying to do test driven documentation at the same time. Yeah, we're you guys. Simon, thank you so much for the help. Simon, I know Simon's on social media. And Pad 5, Success Authentication Resolver. Man, you guys are doing stuff. Again, great job. What a great show. I appreciate all of you guys. TDU. Yes, indeed. I appreciate it.
There's Ted, I don't know if you saw this, but there's a really interesting thread going on in Reddit. You might be the type of person that avoids Reddit because I've been that person for years because it's at times nauseating. But there is the Spring Boot group that I'm in right now seems to be pretty good. Not a lot of fighting. Because Spring developers are good people. So there is a good conversation going on about testing and TDD. And I was reading through these comments and I was just channeling my inner Ted and I was trying to help out like Ted does. So yeah, I think the point was somebody like went on a rant about like who wants to write all their tests first and then write all their code next. And it's like, that's not what you do. You just write one and then you write your code and then you write one more test and then you write your code.
Yeah.
So
just one at a time. Wonderful. Well, cool. we have gone over for good reason. And yeah, let's call it. Let's call it and let's say, hey, we've done well. Let's plan for the next one. Let's look forward. Know that this is a two-way street. You have access to us. We're here for you at your service. Hopefully you're finding what we're delivering valuable. If there's something that you would like to see, something you'd like to see more of, let us know. We have more channels than just this, right? We've got Dan's stream on YouTube, Dan's channel on YouTube. I've got my channels. We have code coming up tomorrow. We have the golden path, the spring one coming up again on Thursday. And yeah, and look for Coffee and Software, Josh Long's stream.
Josh has been live streaming like a champion, like a Java champion.
Yes.
So,
like a Java champion.
Yeah. Check out Coffee and Software.
Speaking of Java,
really enjoying his streams.
Let me give a shout out to Brian Samboden.
Yeah.
New Java champion, awesome. Former teammate
awesome
over at Redis. Yes. Congratulations to you, Brian Samboden.
Nice.
Well deserved. Well deserved. All right.
# goals.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Spring office hours.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.